And we're live.
Thank you, Gio. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's HCD's ESG office hours session. My name is Anthony Zepeda, and I will be your moderator for today's office hours. We're going to hold for just a minute or two for more of our colleagues to join us for today's session, as this is kind of an important one. Not that they all aren't, but this one, we really want to make sure we have a lot of attendees on and everyone's paying attention. So in the meantime, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat with your name and the region you represent, and we will begin in 1 minute at 10:02. Oh, and it looks like I'm going to have to jump ahead on the announcements. I was going to say this, and I'll say it again in a moment, but if you have a AI note taker, HCD policy does not allow AI note takers in any public meetings. And so unfortunately, you have to turn that off. If you don't, we have to remove you from the meeting. You have to log back in without the AI note taker. So please, whoever has the Fireflies AI note taker, please take that off.
I've made Amanda and Sam co-hosts, so they can remove any AI note takers.
Thank you. And so Amanda and Sam, if you could take a look at the chat or the people attending and disable the Fireflies AI note taker, please. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Again, welcome to this week's office hours for ESG. My name is Anthony Zepeda, and I am today's moderator. If you are just joining, join everyone else in the chat. Introduce yourself with your name and the region you represent. And we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with a couple of reminders. I gave a little advance notice on this first reminder, and that is that HCD policy does not allow for AI note takers in our public meetings. It's not whether we want to do it or not. That's straight from the big boss. We cannot allow it. So we have to remove anyone who has an AI note taker. So if you have them on right now, please disable them. They show up on our screen, so we can easily note them and delete them if we have to. So we don't want to remove anyone where you have to log in without your note taker. So please disable your note takers if you have them. And then the other reminder is this office hours session is being recorded for public record. So you can go back and watch the recording and take your notes that way, or have your AI take notes that way if you like. Next slide, please. How to ask a question. All questions must be submitted in the Q&A box. If you look down on your ribbon on your Zoom, you should see that. If you hover your mouse, your cursor over the screen, you'll see the ribbon across, and there's a Q&A. Please enter your question there, enter your name and the region you represent so we know where it's coming from. We can help you. You don't have to be anonymous here. There's no judgment. We will help you out. And the team will read the questions out loud at the end of the presentation and during the Q&A session. And alongside our presenters today, we've got our ESG team, we've got ESG specialists and management who can help answer these questions. So we will do our best throughout the process. Next slide, please. And please note that both the slides and the recording will be sent to all participants within approximately 2 weeks of today's session. If there's a delay and you don't receive that email, you can always check the HCD YouTube page for all of our recordings and office hours. And I'm just right now going to look for the chat so I can drop that, or excuse me, look for the link so I can drop that in the chat for you. And it is the HCD YouTube page. I'll put it in here right now. Everyone. Thank you for your patience while I do these two things at once. So there you go. That should be the link. Did it link? It didn't link. I may have to reconnect that later. But for now, we'll get started on the presentation. So next slide, please. Okay, we always begin office hours with a couple of update slides for things that are going on in ESG land. And right now we are wrapping up the 2023 contracts. Finally, the expiration date is next week. So after that date, October 15th, 2025, HCD cannot make any payments or reimbursements as per our agreement with HUD and our federal contract with HUD. So after the 15th, that's it. There are a few stragglers out there who've got a few pending RFFs. If you have them, or if you're making corrections, do that ASAP. We've only got a week and we got to get this through. And we want you to get paid. We want this money deployed to the community so you can accomplish your mission. And we never want to sit on money. We always want to get that to you as soon as we can. So please submit everything. If you have questions, you can reach out to your rep, which we will cover in another slide. Next slide, please. Okay, for the 2024 contract updates, we're going to talk about that quite a bit today. That is the subject matter. So I'm just going to briefly go over these points here. Standard agreements are being developed with our legal team, our contract team, and the ESG program team. Those are being developed. They're being sent out for signature. You're being contacted by your rep or by our finance team. We're also working on new RFF forms. If you're ready to submit an RFF for 2024, as some of you are, we ask you just to hold off for just another week or so. We have new RFF forms, new DER forms, and other related job aids that we're trying to get to you that's going to make this process easier. We know how difficult sometimes RFS can be, and we want to do everything we can for our grantees to get your money, to get paid, and to get it out there in the community. So hold tight on that. We will go over that next month, which I'll once again touch on in a later slide. We will be sending out welcome emails from your representative, your grant representative, with all of this relevant information, including the new forms. We'll be doing that very soon. And we just recommend for our grantees to start getting all of your ducks in a row. Make sure if your authorized representative has changed, if you've had a change in leadership or management, make sure we have the current authorized representative, as they have to sign several documents that are vital in terms of you being able to submit an RFF and us being able to pay you. We have to have the correct authorized representative. Just a little heads up, work with your rep, ask your rep, and they'll be happy to help you out. Next slide, please. Which leads right to this slide. Here is our ESG team for you, their contact information. We have Sam, Giovanni, and for those of you who don't know, we added Ryan last month, and he's been a great addition to the team. He will be taking over all of my contracts, so you will be hearing from Ryan as we transition. And if you're not sure who your rep is, or you have a general question that isn't contract specific, you can always reach the ESG NOFA inbox that is monitored Monday through Friday during normal business hours. You'll always get a response within 24 hours, and the address is listed there on the screen. Next slide, please. Now, let's see. I think I see a question in the Q&A. So the question, I'm not sure if Amanda has logged on, so I'll jump on this.
I'm here, Anthony.
Oh, okay, you want to take this one or read this one?
Yeah, but first I'm going to allow Denise to talk. She's had her hand up the whole time. So
Fantastic.
I don't know if she actually needs to talk, but I'm gonna, well, I think now she put her hand down. So I don't know. Where did she go?
She may have ran. Who knows? It was
She's
Denise.
saying her mic doesn't work.
She'll be back if okay, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, okay. Well, the question in the chat box is it possible for COCs to receive updates on ESG expenditures? We receive ELOC's expenditures reports quarterly from HUD so we can monitor expenditures and include expenditures in future scoring. Is it possible for COC to receive
It's possible in terms of if we can get that data to you, that would be something. Let me just back up for a second here on this question. Veronica, thank you for the question. It's a good question. It's a very helpful question. And we're going to actually touch on this in a later slide in terms of monthly outreach and technical assistance, or TA, with your rep. We will be reaching out and meeting monthly, if not more often, with our grantees. And this can be something that we can work with your agency on and perhaps implement program-wide in terms of tracking your expenditures, making sure you're up to date. We already do that now, but we don't do it at the federal level. We do it very much based on your RFFs, if that makes sense. And so we can tell you each month, each week, how much you spent, how you're tracking, and so on. And we will cover this in detail in this discussion. And if you want to jump back in with additional questions or suggestions, we would greatly appreciate it.
Well, if it's a
I think that-
COC level, though, she might need updates for her subrecipient, the subrecipients of the COC. If that's what you mean, Veronica, you could always email the ESG inbox and we'd be happy to update you on your the subrecipients and your COC on the expenditures.
And I'm going to add, it's something that we've talked about, is that we realize that we deal with our subgrantees and frequently are not updating, or the COCs themselves may not really know what's going on with their collaborative partners. So we've been talking about ways to make sure that the COCs are informed, and we would love input from you guys to what information you need and what you're missing and ways that you think might be useful. So we would love input.
Yeah. But in the meantime, if you would like that information, email the inbox, Veronica, and we'd be happy to send that to you. And you can do that as often as you need, and if you want, whatever you need, we'd be happy to help you with that.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And once we get into the subject matter, everyone, and we are actually on the slides and so on, I swear Veronica is not a plant. She wasn't a plant to put that question out there for me, because I'm going to touch on all of this in a later slide, and it's going to be a very helpful question. So thank you. Any others, Amanda?
Nope, that's it. I was just going to say, Denise, since your mic isn't working, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the Q&A box and we'd be happy to answer it for you. And that's it, Anthony.
Okay, thank you. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay, you guys, you can see on my screen, you've noticed that you've got the spooky, scary Halloween decor in the background, and it's kind of like today's subject matter. I'm not trying to make light of it too much, but today we're going to talk about the standard agreements and the requirements of the standard agreements. And for some of you, especially if you've been doing this for a while, you're like, yeah, so what? This is just standard stuff. But there have been a lot of changes in the ESG program here in California, both with our update of our guidelines, update of our NOFA, going to multi-year contracts. And then, as you're all aware, there's been all kinds of developments at the federal level as well for funding in ESG and programmatic performance. And that is all coming together into, this year. It's all coalescing for the 2024 funding contracts. And then moving forward, we can expect to see a whole lot more of it. So the intent is not to scare you, as my decorations may do. The intent is to get ahead of this, to work with our grantees, to work with the COCs, their subrecipients, and then the service providers, to get a handle on this, to get ahead of challenges that we anticipate may come up during the process. So as you listen to me go through these today, I would encourage you, this isn't a scolding, this isn't a finger pointing, this is, we're all in this together. ESG, HCD, we are recipients, just like you are. We are recipient of HUD for the California federal ESG dollars. We are subject to every single one of these items as well. So that, as per ESG regulations, that gets passed down to our grantees, who are then responsible to do the same thing, provide the same oversight to their service providers. So that's my spiel before starting today, because I really encourage a dialogue here and your input through the process as we go through this together. And anything you can think of or want to write down in the comments or shoot to us afterwards, please do so. We welcome it. So let's go ahead and jump right into the 2024 Standard Agreements, Part 2. Next slide, please. So we're going to start with a review of what we did last month. This is a 3-part series on standard agreements. The first part was a general overview last month. This month in October, we're going to get right down into the details, the nitty-gritty of what has changed, what is required, what HCD is going to be monitoring and tracking, and how that applies to your agency. And then next month, we're going to be all the way down into the weeds. We're going to be doing live demos of the new RFF forms, the RFF process, the requirements, especially like maybe for rapid rehousing. Those of you who had rapid rehousing, we're going to go over a deep dive into client files, what is required at a federal level, and that we have to ask you for, because I know that's always a challenge for folks, especially the new folks who come on board and say, what? I have to do all of that? And say, yeah, you do. But enough of that, let's jump right into it. And so for those of you who are new or maybe need a refresher, the Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG, is a grant designed to assist individuals and families experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. It provides funding for essential services and housing stability. Next slide, please. Going to go through these quickly because it's just a quick review. The ESG program provides funding through the 5 components most of you are familiar with: street outreach, emergency shelter, homelessness prevention, rapid rehousing, and then the HMIS reporting component. Most of you are familiar with these. Each have their own set of requirements in terms of supporting documentation when requesting a reimbursement, and in terms of what is eligible components, or eligible activities within the component. Next slide, please. Just a quick snapshot of our most recent data available for the ESG program here in California. Fiscal year 24 snapshot. Services for approximately 22,000 people. We expended a little bit over 11.6 million. And diving in a little deeper, we assisted over 18,000 individuals through the emergency shelter and street outreach components, and over 3,800 through the rapid rehousing component. So it has been a very effective program here in California. We know our grantees rely on it, and it fulfills the mission that we have here at HCD for helping to get people into housing as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. So here's a quick note that I shared last month, just a general overview, but also it really ties into what we're going to talk about today. The program, the ESG program, has been around for over 30 years. It was established by a congressional act. And because it's been around for 30 years, various administrations, both at the federal level and here in California as well, it's very highly regulated, and it can be politically sensitive in a sense that sometimes it's highly supported by an administration at the state or federal level, and other times it is not supported at all, and calls for it to be repealed. But it is an act of Congress, so it's not easy to repeal it. Congress has to repeal it. So that's been good news and has kept it around for 30 years. But it does have pretty stringent requirements in a sense that it's governed by so many different regulations. There's just a few examples here on the screen. There's the Universal Administrative Grant Requirements 2 CFR Part 200. That applies to all federal grants across the board, whether it's ESG or CDBG or something completely different. If it's coming from the federal government, you're required, your agency is required, especially your accounting department and finance department, are required to know and follow the regulations in 2 CFR Part 200 as they relate to federal contracts and ESG. There is also federal ESG legislation and updates. The most recent, the interim rule has been around since 2012 and then updated in 2019, I believe it was again. And that governs the ESG program right now. You also are governed by California contract laws that the state of California has put in place to govern all contracts that you have with the state. And then you have the HCD department within the state of California, the requirements in terms of what we have to abide by, as we are subject to the exact same requirements as our grantees. Next slide, please. So where am I going with all that? Well, those are all of the factors that come in the creation of the standard agreement. The standard agreement is just another name for contract. We call a standard agreement. And the standard agreement at its most basic level provides the following things for your grant and the program that you operate. It establishes the timelines and milestones. It identifies requirements and the scope of the work or deliverables. It's going to be your guiding go-to document when you're administering the program. If there are questions or if you're unsure of a date or a deliverable, you just can refer back to your signed standard agreement. The standard agreements are supplemented with HCD policy guidance and are subject once again to the federal, state, and HCD regulations. That's the standard agreement in a nutshell. You know, a lot of you I know are probably tuning out right now, but I swear we're getting past this in a second and getting into the nitty-gritty. Next slide, please. So the standard agreements, we just give, the quick overview and then an overview of all of the regulatory devices that are used to govern this. But for the 2024 standard agreements, what has been different throughout this whole process is in December of 2024, the ESG program here in California, through a legislative act, was able to replace the state regulations for ESG with ESG program state guidelines. Those came out in December of 2024. And I'll try and throw the links to these in the chat when we're in the Q&A period. But the state guidelines, you should have a copy of those somewhere. Your program manager should have a copy of those somewhere. And just to refer to, because it's going to spell out the conditions and the requirements for the ESG program. And there have been updates. There is also the ESG NOFA, Notice of Funding Availability. All of you who are getting a 2024 contract, who will be expending funding from the 2024 funding tranche, you all applied through the ESG NOFA. The NOFA explained many of these new changes, and you can always refer back there. The NOFA also referenced the ESG state guidelines as the new guiding document, and if there were questions, to refer back. It also has all the requirements. Both have the requirements that are listed in both for federal, state, and local. And then the updated ESG contract exhibits. So because of the update to the state guidelines, because of the NOFA, and because of updates to federal performance standards and data tracking in the ESG program, we had to update the ESG contract exhibits. Those have been on our website, and we've been referencing you, pointing you back to those since the summer of 2025. They are still there. For those of you who've already received your completed standard agreement, you have copies that are very specific for your agency in terms of deliverables, deadlines, and other items that we will touch on today. Next slide, please. So Excuse me, I can get a drink of water real quick. So for the most part, the standard agreements, they follow the same format. They establish the timelines and milestones for the grant, the requirements, the scope. It's your guiding document, and we supplement the standard agreement with our HCD policy guideline documents. Next slide, please. However, there are going to be new items that we will place an emphasis on this year, and new items that we will track this year, and new items that we will, that there are actually penalties involved. But we'll get into that in another slide. So as mentioned before, there is a much greater emphasis at the federal level that then comes down to the state level on performance milestones and deliverables. Is the grantee, including HCD, is the grantee of these federal funds meeting the performance milestones outlined in their standard agreement and the scope of work? And that includes spending and RFF submission and all kinds of other items that we'll touch on in this section. There is also recapture and redistribution. Recapture and redistribution have always been listed in the standard agreements. However, once again, with the federal emphasis on performance in delivering, in addition to the new language in the guidelines and the new language in the NOFA, all of that has been translated into the standard agreements, recapture and redistribution. We'll talk about it more in another slide. Also, there's been changes in the indirect cost and how they are tracked and how agencies must keep track of them in terms of their RFFs and their budgeting. We're not going to touch on that one today. I just wanted to get it out there. We're going to do a deep dive into that next month, excuse me. And then also a emphasis on the annual performance reporting. Annual performance reporting, even though it says right there, annual, you did every year. That's something that we run into challenges a lot with our grantees, in a sense that oftentimes, like, you're reporting 2 years back. And so for these 2024 contracts, you're going to get an email from us maybe in 26 or 27 saying, here's the report, fill this out. And oftentimes the grantee will go, oh, we closed that. We don't have to report on it. It's always behind, but we're working on that. We're going to touch on that next month, but there is a greater emphasis placed on annual performance reporting and adhering to the schedule as it is outlined in your contract or your standard agreement. Next slide, please. All right, just going to kind of do a quick process check over here at my notes to make sure I cover the things that I want to cover here, as I do tend to talk fast. All right. So standard agreements. For you new folks out there, or for those of you who just never really take a look at these, I would recommend that you start getting to know these and keep a copy handy with you. Keep it in your ESG folder so you can always refer back to it. The standard agreement's going to have the contract start and end dates in exhibits A and E. It's also going to have your expenditure deadlines and milestones identified, specific amounts, specific dates. That's also in exhibits A and E. It'll identify your project scope in the budget, and it will identify the reporting period. 2 quick notes. The one at the bottom, it's not really germane, but I wanted to throw it out there, and this is probably the only place that I could, so I put it on the slide. For those of you who are new or just don't recall, you can begin incurring cost, meaning you can submit a reimbursement for cost as of the date of your award letter. Your standard agreement, this is just purely hypothetical to illustrate the point. Your award letter may be dated December of 2024, but your contract may not get signed and executed until August of 2025. Sometimes there's confusion that, oh, well, we can only bill from 2025, August 2020. No, you can bill all the way back for eligible expenses to the date of your award letter. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that and get that out there, because it's a good way to get ahead on your spending, just jump right ahead, start billing for any program development, staff time, setting up the program as of the date of the award letter, which is usually good 3 to 6 months before your contract is executed. So I want to put that out there. Now I want to jump back to this slide, and this stuff is pretty basic. I've covered it in 2 other slides, contract start, end dates, but I really want to make sure that everyone understands that everything we talk about, it's just right here in the contract. It's in the standard agreement there. So there's no surprises. It's also an excellent tool for planning in terms of your budgeting and spending and performance tracking. So all of the information's there. It's in the standard agreements, and we will be holding grantees to these dates, which more on the next slide. So let's just go to the next slide. So we get into the fine print, and this is, as I put the little graphic on there, and attention, this is important stuff. Pay attention. Or if you're reviewing this at a later date, this is a good slide to focus on. So here in the standard agreements, there are new requirements. Not all new, they're referenced, but now there is actually, I mean, for want of a better term, there's actually teeth behind them because of the updates in the guidelines and in the NOFA and in your standard agreement exhibits. These are areas that your agency needs to pay a lot of attention to, that you will be receiving monthly updates on. And we haven't worked out all the details, but as Veronica had that great question, we are going to be tracking monthly. Your rep's going to be reaching out to you monthly, letting you know how you're doing and how we can help. This isn't going, as I mentioned, this isn't a point of the finger, I gotcha. No, we want to help you. And so it's going to be a much more hands-on approach with your 2024 contract, because we support our grantees. We believe in your mission. It's the same mission we have. And we want to make sure you get the dollars deployed in your community to help your community and your agency as well. So having said all that, here's the big changes in 2024, the things that we're going to focus on, and the things that your project management team and especially your finance team will need to keep track of. So the annual project reporting requirements, the APR requirements. This is a standard requirement that's built into all of your contracts, always has been with ESG. It's a federal requirement, and you are required to report annually on your funding, on your ESG funding. And we will be tracking that this year. We don't want it to be a surprise, as just a few months ago when we did do it, we get probably a good 50% of our grantees say, wait, no, I don't have to report. That was 2 years ago. So, no, you still got to report on it. It's just a little behind. It's not a real-time reporting. There are also record-keeping requirements that we want you to be aware of to look into your standard agreement in terms of how long you have to retain records, and also for monitoring, which ties right into the next bullet point, subrecipient monitoring requirements. Just in a quick nutshell, HCD, we are monitored every year by HUD on our ESG program. HCD ESG, we monitor our subs. And that's done through a process that we'll get in on another later office hours. We'll tell you about that one. Or if you have questions, be happy to answer. But then the subrecipients, those of you who are receiving funding from HCD, whether you're a COC or you're a local nonprofit, you are required, as part of your federal contract that you sign, and this is all spelled out in the guidelines and the NOFA, you are required to monitor your subrecipients or your service providers. And so if you use those, you have to monitor, meaning you have to do quality control checks on their client files for rapid rehousing. You have to make sure it's an eligible activity. Is it during the right reporting period? All the stuff that we do when you submit a reimbursement to us, your agency is required to do as well for your subrecipients or service providers. Next bullet point, contractually required expenditure milestones. I put that contractually required in there because we will be looking at that this year. They're in your standard agreement, your 2024 standard agreement. There are expenditure milestones. There are dates where percentage spent must be met. There are timely submission requirements for your RFFs. You can't wait till the end of the year and then submit one big one. And then that all ties into the 2 R's that we'll be hearing a lot this year and into next: recapture and redistribution. Once again, this language has always been in the exhibits and the standard agreements, but for the 2024 NOFA and in the guidelines as well, the language was beefed up that if grantees do not meet expenditure milestones, the HCD has the full right and responsibility to recapture and redistribute the funds, much like HUD does with HCD as well. If we don't spend our funds, if we're not submitting reports in a timely manner, HUD can pull the plug on us as well. So nothing new, but it just is going to be a greater emphasis. You're going to hear a lot about it, and your grant rep is going to be working with you to keep you on track. Let's go to the next slide, please. So just here's some highlights. I've touched on them, but I just wanted to have them on screen. And there's also a copy here, so you can always refer back to it. If the APR reporting, annual project reporting, is in Exhibit D 25E of your standard agreement, and there are penalties for non-compliance, and those are spelled out in the guidelines in 303F. Record keeping and retention. For those of you that this is new, you're required to keep your ESG records and supporting documentation for 5 years after the contract closing date. 5 years, you can be monitored. 5 years, HCD can come in, or HUD can come in, or another auditor can come in and ask for these files. You are contractually required to do that. That's an Exhibit D 25H. Guidelines, it's also in the federal guidelines for this program. Subrecipient monitoring, which I touched on, it's in Exhibit D11. It's in the guidelines in 304, and you must monitor your service providers. Next slide, please. Performance milestones and spending percentage deadlines. This is going to be the big one. This is the one we're going to focus on. This is the one that grantees will probably have the most challenges with. They're located in Exhibits A and E of your standard agreement and on the guidelines on 305. There are submission requirements in terms of when you must submit your first RFF by. There's timely RFF submission requirements, meaning it is highly encouraged that you submit monthly. We still have it listed in the standard agreement that you can submit quarterly. If that is the case, then that is the case. However, we are going to be reaching out to you monthly to see if we can assist with your RFFs, to assist you with billing, to not accounting billing, but are here some eligible activities? Are you, if you're having trouble spending, have you tried this? Have you tried that? You can also bill here. We're going to be happy to help you with that, provide TA. There are percentage spent deadlines. These are identified in your standard agreement. How much percentage must be spent by which date. And for all of these, there are penalties for non-compliance with the standard agreement. And I think I have these penalties listed in an upcoming slide, so I won't get into them now, but we will jump to the next slide. This is an example, just a quick snapshot I pulled from one of the standard exhibit templates that are online for your review. Just an example of what it will look like in your standard exhibit. It'll have the expenditure deadline, the percentage. So it'll have the date, it'll have the percentage, and then the maximum amount that HCD can recapture if you are not meeting these deadlines. There's much more detail in your standard agreement, but this is just a quick snapshot for you. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about the recapture and redistribution. It's in Exhibit A in section G, and it's also in the guidelines. And for failure to meet the expenditure milestones, so an example would be an agency is not spending on track with the deadline. The percentage spent is not tracking with the milestone deadline. You're going to be required, your agency would be required to submit a corrective action plan, letting HCD know how you're going to spend the money by the due date, how you're going to catch up. And that has to be approved by HCD. If you're unable, if an agency is unable to, if an agency reaches out and says, hey, we just can't spend this year, we're just going to disencumber all of it to you. We will recapture the unexpended funds redistribute those. More on that at a much later office hours. But here's the big ones that you might miss and that I really want everyone to be aware of. This is in the guidelines. This is in your NOFA. This is in the standard agreement that your agency executive director or officer signed. If you don't meet the expenditure deadlines, you may not be allowed to apply for future ESG funding for up to 2 cycles. And in a 3-year cycle that we're doing now, that could be 6 years from now before your agency can apply for ESG funding. We don't want that to happen with anyone, any of our grantees or any region, because these funds are so important for your homeless programs, homeless support programs. Next bullet's very similar: failure to expend all grant funds. So it's the end of the year and you haven't expended all your grant funds, you're 20,000 left over and we've done everything, and we have to, HCU is then going to recapture those unexpended funds. But here's the thing: you may not be eligible for future funding for several cycles. And for those of you who have, here's the heads up, here's a good takeaway. We have multi-year contracts now, they're 3 years. It's imperative that you get ahead on your spending, because if you don't spend your first year, that's going to affect whether you get second and third year. I know this is surprising probably for some, but this has always been there. This has always been in the exhibits. It's just being enforced, and the federal emphasis on spending the dollars or recapturing them and redistributing them, and also the update to the guidelines, the update to the NOFA. This is all going to be moving forward with ESG contracts. So we really want to make sure that our grantees are aware of this. We're going to really hammer this in our office hours. You're going to hear me talking about it every month in the updates or in the actual presentation, because we don't want anyone to get behind and not be able to play in the ESG pond anymore. So next slide, please. So just continuing with the milestones and deadline, a little recap. There are deadlines for your first RFF. Your grant rep will be reaching out to you on that. Submit monthly if you can. You can submit twice a month if you like, but at least quarterly, because there are milestones for the percentage of funding spent, and we need all grantees to expend the full grant during the grant period. HUD is looking very closely at California and a few other states in terms of, are we spending the full grant amount that they are allotting to our state? And remember, there's the recapture option that is going to come into play this year for the first time in quite a few years, as the guidelines in the NOFA have made it very clear. And in your standard agreement, it's also very clear. I hammer this over and over, but I recommend that you really know your standard agreement, that your finance and legal team know your standard agreement. ESG is a highly regulated program, and we don't want anyone to have to get a recapture or a redistribution. Next slide, please. So moving forward, the ESG forms, we're updating the 2024 RFF form, the DER, and the APR. We're doing our best to make it easier on the grantees to meet all of these requirements that are in the federal, the state, and the local level. We don't want this to be onerous or a burden on you. We want to make sure you can get these submitted. So we're actually pretty excited about the new forms. We will have those ready probably next week. They're in the final stages of being developed, and then we will present those next month and give you a demo and a walkthrough. Some of you may get a preview of that in your welcome meeting with your ESG rep. And the whole thing is we want to make it easier. We want to make it simpler. So it isn't just step after step, form after form. We want to combine them all in one. You just have one form to submit, and that's it. We're going to have monthly check-in and TA meetings with our grantees. Your grant rep will reach out to you every month. Some of you may need assistance more than once a month. Others may need it only once a quarter. But the model for now is we're going to have monthly check-ins. Our grant reps are going to reach out, and the ESG specialist and the program manager are also happy to join in and provide assistance as needed and guidance. We're going to be looking at quarterly performance and spending reviews. Veronica touched on that concept just a little. we're still working out the details, and it just depends on how quickly we can get this information tracked. It's very easy for us to do it for the subrecipient spending, but not always easy to get that up to the COC level. But the COCs, for those of you online and are listening, you're starting to probably gather that there's going to be a bit bigger role for you in terms of tracking performance and working with HCD directly we are going to let you know which grantees are spending on time, which are struggling, where are areas for improvement, what are areas that are great that we can share as best practices. So we look forward to that. And then also, you're always going to have me harping on in office hours telling you, hey, this is due, how can we help? Here's some tools. And we're confident that, our grantees are going to respond well to this. And any hiccups along the way, we'll work on them together. So next slide, please. So a lot of information, a lot of repetitive information, and the purpose for that and the reasoning for that was I really want to make sure, our team really wants to make sure that our grantees understand that things are going to be a little different moving forward in ESG. There's a much larger emphasis on program performance, timely expenditures, timely submission, reporting, and full expenditure of your grant funds. No, it's not always going to be easy, but we are here to help you. We can provide TA. We've got a great team. We're happy to help. We're always in the process of tinkering with the ESG program here in California to make it more efficient and less onerous on our grantees. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and hand it over to Amanda to see if we have any questions.
We have a couple. So the first one is from Veronica again. How does HCD plan to rectify contradictions between state laws / regulations and presidential executive orders? One example is the housing first. Our COC is worried that these differences could impact future COC program funding awards. We are currently working with HCD and ICF and our LAD department and talking with HUD and everyone we can think of to talk about the executive orders and how we can go about moving forward with our program. As is, we know that the executive orders are going to change things and it will change the contract. So we will let you know how that is going to affect our program in the coming days, weeks, months. But right now we can't really talk about it much as we don't know the answers yet. Anthony, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Thank you, Amanda. That was a great, I like the way you put that. And Veronica, it's a good question. And for those of you who regularly talk to me, I get that question every week. And we have for some time, we get that. And there's two answers. The standard answer is that's already spelled out in the regulations, the guidelines, the NOFA, and the standard agreement. There are several clauses that say if there is a conflict between federal and state regulations on this, ESG regulations, federal regulations will prevail. However, that's the standard response to a standard situation. We're not necessarily in a standard situation right now, and I think that's what you're alluding to. I think I'm safe to say that. And Amanda put it perfectly, Veronica. We're in the same boat. California is in the same boat as Texas and Florida and New York and Ohio. We're all getting directives in the form of executive orders that are going to HUD, and then HUD is responsible for providing guidance to us. And so we're waiting just like everyone else as HUD develops guidance, and I think we don't know exactly what that guidance will be, but as Amanda alluded to, there will be changes in the more than likely in the standard agreement templates moving forward. and we will address that as it comes up. It will most likely be applicable to 2025 moving forward, but there definitely could be some amendments to 2024 as well. We will keep everyone posted as we find out information, and we just ask you to hang in there, conduct business as usual, and get the dollars deployed in your community and help those folks out there on the streets.
Thank you, Anthony. The next question is actually in the chat. When will we get new updated docs, such as the DUR and the RFF? We are trying to get that completed and sent out by next week. That is the hope and the plan. So hopefully next week. Hopefully you'll get
Yes.
that via email.
Yes. And worst case scenario, this month, you'll get them this month. But as mentioned, it'll probably be a lot sooner, as we've been working on them for several weeks now and finalizing them. And then also next month's office hours, first week of November, is going to be going over the new forms, the standard, the DER, the RFF form, and the APR tracking form. That's all one form now, just one form. We'll be going over the new RFF submission process. It's not a big overhaul. It's mainly just simplifying it for everyone and making sure that the folks who maybe don't attend these or maybe are reading something else while we're talking don't use the old RFF forms and do use the new ones. So yeah, we'll be going into much more detail next month. By then, you will all have received a welcome email and the new forms, and talked to your rep probably already. You may have even had your first introduction for the 2024 grants with your rep. So it's coming sometime in the next couple of weeks, hopefully next week.
Yeah, so Denise asked if she should use the new form, wait to use the new form, and the answer is yes. If you're submitting for 2024, yes, wait for the new form, because you don't want to have to resubmit using the new form. It's combined, just to give a heads up, it's combining the APR and the RFF and the DUR. It's fancy schmancy and great and fantastic. So please wait to use the new form. It's fabulous. It will be great on our end and your end, and hopefully it will help with the APRs next year too, and you guys won't have to do as much. So yeah, you'll see when we send it out next week. It'll be a little, like Anthony said, we'll have to train you a little bit, but not too much.
And Denise, we know that you guys are already ready to be spending, and we will be getting the new form to you quickly and work with you to get that submitted as soon as we have it available. We're troubleshooting it right now to make sure that it runs the way we hope it runs. But we'll get you something soon, and we will work with you to get you updated.
The next question: have authorized representative forms gone out to grantees? That I don't know the answer to.
The signatory forms will go out with the welcome letter.
Okay.
And that's, I think that in this case is what they're asking for. And they should already have given, we know who your authorized rep is. If that's changing, you need to let us know as soon as possible. But we're going to send a signatory letter out with the welcome letter that will give the ability for whoever you want to sign, and it'll be within the next week or so.
Yeah. And then Dee Dee asked, will standard agreements also be received next week? If you're referring to your LA 2024 contract, I actually don't know where that is in the process.
I think it's still with legal.
If it's still with legal, then I can't guarantee you'll get it next week, Dee Dee, but hopefully soon. It's still routing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the APR, DUR, and RFF will be uploaded in eCivis. Yes, it still will be the same process as it has been before.
And just so you know, because I'm very proud of this, we only have 2 contracts that have not been executed, and LA is one of them because they had a later application date because of the emergency, the wildlife fire emergencies that they had, and then the second one was for some other legal issues. But we have everything executed already. We're very, very proud of that.
Yes, everyone did a fabulous, great job.
And it looks like for the LACTA contract, that one is in the final contract stage. So it should be executed probably within the next week or sooner.
Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, of course.
Was that the end of the questions, Amanda?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Those were some great questions. We really appreciate your involvement here. And these last few slides, just wrapping up, we got the ESG webpage. The link is there in the ESG NOFA contact page. And also in the chat, I dropped the link to the ESG guidelines, the new statewide governing document for HCD's ESG program here in California. We have the link to the 2024 NOFA with additional information. If you're wonky like me and you like to double check all these citations. And then we always have the ESG webpage there at the bottom. You're welcome to click there. It's a great source of resources. Great source of resources. It's a great place to find all kinds of helpful tools and guidance. And I'm trying to get the YouTube link here, and I'm trying to delay by using a lot of words here as I type it in. This is the link to previous trainings for ESG, and this one will be on there in a couple of weeks. Great to go there. You can also find information on components, little component refreshers, and all kinds of good stuff in there. So we welcome you to visit that site. Next slide, please. And you can follow us on social media. Next slide, please. And finally, we are always looking for great new team members to join us, like Ryan, who came from one of our grantees. We didn't work with him directly, but he is from one of our larger organizations. He's joined us and he is helping us achieve our mission. We're always looking for good people. If you're interested, HCD has a lot of good job openings right now. Please click on the link and we would love to hear from you. With that, I'll let you know that next office hours, once again, we're going to be going over a live demo of the new RFF form and submitting timely RFFs and answer all of your questions. And hopefully you will all be experts at the end of next session on how to do an RFF. You can teach me how to do it. So hopefully. And with that, thanks so much.
We have a question. When is asking what is the date of the next office hours?
I believe it's the 7th or the 5th. Let me look real quick here on my calendar. It's the 5th, November 5th.
All right.
And if you need an invite for that, just send a message to the NOFA inbox. Be happy to do that for you. Or if you need to add new folks to the distribution list. And that's all we have. So thank you so much, everyone. We will see you next time. Reach out to your rep if you have questions about today. Reach out to me as well. And we look forward to seeing you again next month. Thanks so much.